Word has it you turned down $55 million.
I mean,
is that true, Benzino? We need to understand.
Yeah, well, I mean, I met Dave.
I can't wait to hear this.
Well, Dave Mays was going to Harvard and started at his. It was a radio station that basically was playing all classical music, and he had like an hour on a Saturday to play hip hop. In Boston, Ronnie, you remember we didn't have a black radio station. Our radio station was WILD, an AM station that played R&B, and when the sun went down, the radio station wasn't working anymore. So Boston never, and I look at back now and see major cities with 3, 4, 5 black radio stations where, and they didn't necessarily have to be owned by black people, but they still was pushing black culture. And we never, to this day, still don't have that in Boston. And we had to listen to, college radio. So when I met Dave, it was a one-page newsletter. It ballooned into the great thing, the magazine it did. I ended up being, later on, a partner with him. And, I ended up knowing more about business and brand management, marketing, promotion. I kind of learned on the fly. But the Source started making, close to upwards to maybe $1.5 million a month, just from advertising. And it was just so much money. And I think with me, I didn't understand that type of money. Even selling drugs, it was nowhere near that type of money that we was getting. And when you're young, man, you don't know about money. Money is a business in itself, and how to spend money and how to save. I knew nothing about that. I just knew I had a bunch of my friends. None of us had anything. I'm not the type of guy to go into a store and have a bunch of friends and I'm the only one getting stuff. So everybody has to eat with me. And I took as many people as I could. I took care of as many people as I could, but I just didn't understand the concept of money, saving, and investing. And, was making a lot of moves, but when you look back at it, those was the wrong moves. I really never saved anything.
Biggest splurge?
I really never saved anything. It was just spending frivolously, jewelry, cars, the regular stuff, man, and hotel rooms that cost like ridiculous amounts. And, when I did finally got a record deal, I was proud of myself because ultimately, the Source magazine, it was cool for me to be in the magazine world. The story about Bob Johnson was Dave had took out a loan for like $9 million to start Source.com in the 90s. It crashed, as all kind of like .coms did in the early days. And we ended up owning the bank like $30 million. It was a bank out of Providence, Rhode Island. And we took out a $9 million loan at an 18% interest rate. So we ended up owing $30 million. When you think about it, Dave had the right idea in the guys. I didn't know anything about it, but he was my partner, so with everything he did, I was with it. But it just was before its time. And I remember when Bob Johnson had just sold BET, he said, come on down to his office. He had just sold it for like $3 billion, him and his wife. He said, look, we want to buy the magazine. I'm going to write my offer on a piece of paper. I'm going to walk out the office. I'm going to come back. And we opened it, $55 million. So I'm looking at Dave and he's looking at me and I'm like, Dave, what do you think? I'm like, we owe the bank 30. We start doing all this. I said, we owe this, we owe that. By the time, and then he didn't want us to work on it anymore. It was like, you guys are gone. And we felt like, man, after all the monies, we'll walk away with about $3, $4 million a piece. And we just felt like we wanted 80. And he didn't want to give it to us, so we turned it down. And, you could look back and everybody could always say, would you do things different or whatever, but I just don't live my life like that. Like, I feel like I've been blessed to even sit in here with y'all because I've been through so much,
I'm sorry, I never heard you like that, bro. I grew up as a fan. And a product of hip hop, and the Source magazine covers are something that you just cherished. And, Ron, I've seen you just diversify. So I just wanted to say that because I think as black men, we don't acknowledge each other enough in a way in which we can say, listen, man, what you did you set the foundation for so many brothers that, we don't oftentimes feel like we want to give each other the credit. And I think that we need to do that. And I say that just seeing other genres, like Afrobeat is now a genre like hip hop was. But it's birthed from things like The Source and things like you did. So I just wanted to make that acknowledgement, man, because I think, in this day and age where we're not guaranteed to be here tomorrow, next week, next year, we need to say these type of things.
Boston was rough. Ronnie could tell you, we can name hundreds of guys that were murdered. And, police brutality, now that was going on in the 80s. They was killing guys under cars, shooting them in the back of their head. No police was going to jail. I mean, we've been through a lot in Boston. A lot of it gets covered up because Boston was real clever as far as the image they wanted out there for people. And a lot of people didn't even know that hoods existed. And, when they was making projects in Chicago, they was making projects in Boston. And, like I said, I'm so proud of these guys because I know how hard it was to make it out of there. And believe me, it just wasn't easy, man. And, for us, you're not just fighting the guys around your hood, you're fighting a system that is designed, like you said at the beginning, for black people not to shine or not to reap the rewards of anything that our culture has to offer. And, it was almost impossible, to do it, so.
I want to piggyback off of what you said as well, Benzino. And I've told you before, when you had Hip Hop Weekly, that's one of my favorite magazines. I really loved it.
I appreciate it.
And I don't think you get enough credit in that space in doing something that no one else was trying to do at that time. People were just trying to be on front and center on stage. And with that being said, in this somber tone that we haven't heard before, does it bother you? You spoke earlier about, the young heads don't really want to they don't really take advice from the OGs like they probably should. And I think our generation, we were sponges to those that came before us because we had that respect.
Right.
Does it hurt you? Does it hurt you that, and not just your daughter, but just the youngsters in general, they just don't seem to take cues from those that have a wealth of this kind of knowledge and experience? Because what you're saying now is, I'm thinking right now, they need to go on tour and do a master class and help these, y'all could have a product with how, what not to do, the pitfalls, with your story that you just shared just now.
With me, I never was too good on kind of taking credit, you know what I'm saying? I was with a white Jewish guy, so anything that, as a partner, so anything that we did, it probably just went to him anyways, just because of the optics. Me being black and Puerto Rican from Boston, Cape Verdean from Boston, and him being white and Jewish, whatever, even if, people wasn't gonna believe that anything really was gonna come from me. So I played that role for a while. And, so for a while it almost mentally, even now, it's kind of weird getting credit, you know what I'm saying? Because with me, it was just the money.